Hey YouTube, coming at you with my team building series that I used to do in the past, and I'm going to do it again for the new Pokemon that are buffed. So, Dewgong. I think Dewgong is probably one of the easier ones to team build just because of how flexible it is. So first, let's go to PB Poke. Rank 38. What you're going to see about Dewgong is that it doesn't have those super hard losses they need to cover, right? So 1924 overall record is not amazing, but very sort of middle of the road distribution here. So it's not like you have any super hard losses, super hard wins. You're just kind of pretty safe, which makes it a very easy Pokemon to use, especially as a safe swap. Your main weaknesses obviously are fighters through here. Scrafty, Toxicroak, Medicham, Lantern as an electric water. Obstacle as another fighter. I ran into that a couple times today. Haven't seen many Jellicents yet, but Bastion I ran into today, and your Drowan only does like 40%. So again, more fighters. A sandslash between the claws and Jorans are just going to pace you between resisted and Jorans, right? So then you get into like evenest matchups. Like the Joran helps you. You're still losing, but you get like good chip damage on Stunfisk and Registeel. So what you didn't have before. And then obviously wins. You got like your Flyers coming up here. You got your other like Swampert, other waters. Looks like, yeah, a lot of Flyers. A lot of Flyers is where your main teams. But basically using it as a safe swap. So, teams. You can either run balanced teams or you can run ABB style teams. So, here's a bunch of balanced teams. Basically, the thought process with all these teams is you don't really need to give up. If you have a good lead, such as this one, you just stay in. And if you have a bad lead, you can go into Dewgong. So this one was just a pretty hard counter game, so that my opponent didn't have much they could do here. But with Gliscor Swampert, basically like Gliscor's main weakness is going to be just sort of water, right? Because it's a flyer and ground, so water is its main weakness. So I thought like Swampert in itself is probably fine, plus Dewgong will also handle sort of waters in the back. So as long as you have sort of like evenish in the back to deal with that. Gliscor is also weak to ice, right? So some of the main ice you're now seeing is like a sandslash. So Swampert will have a very easy time with a sandslash. And then Dewgong in the mid game here. But again, this one was just pretty hard counter, so there was not much you can do. Because one of the old school teams was Skarmory. Skarmory Swampert core plus the safe swap. And I was looking at that. I was looking at Skarmory. I was also looking at the Owl, because I think those are just sort of better, in my opinion, than Gliscor right now. Well, I don't think Skarmory is better. The problem is, right, you have Lantern. And when you have Lantern, that is going to take out your mid Pokemon in Dewgong. You can't lead like the Owl or lead Skarmory and see a Lantern on the lead and have to bail into Dewgong because it's a loss either way. And you can't go hard straight into Swampert because that's a loss right away. Because, I mean, that's not a loss. They're going to switch out because they're going to have an answer to Swampert if they're running a Lantern. So, Gliscor seemed like the good choice. I said in my team building meta yesterday morning that I think that Gliscor won't be around as much. And I hold that true just because there are so many more ice. Second team here, Clefable, Defense Deoxys. Again, Clefable is going to hit everything pretty strong. Its main weakness is that it doesn't have anything to throw at like your steals, your Galarian Stunfisk, your Registeel, stuff like that. So Defense Deoxys. You can use Medicham. You can use other sort of fighters. Again, Dewgong is weak to fighting, so I don't really want to use like a Scrafty or a Vigoroth, because that would be more ABB style team, right? So if you want to run ABB with like Vigoroth or Scrafty, I've got a Scrafty ABB coming up next. You can do that, but I just find like Clefable just as like an all-around with Defense Deoxys is pretty good, because one of the other things Clefable is gonna, well, it has a Meteor Mash, so it's not too bad, but poisons, right, like this one, are going to resist the Fairy. So that is why having a Defense Deoxys that can throw Psycho Boost is important. So going to throw Psycho Boost here, and this is where now you're just going to see the sort of tankiness of, oh no, Clefable, I already lost my Dewgong, but Clefable, this thing was spammy. Like, I know it's going to be spammy, but this is basically 3 Meteor Meshes off before they can farm me down, which means Defense Deoxys is going to do fine against Medicham left over here. So clefable, again, I would stay in for anything except for poison, like a poison user since you're fairy, and a like Registeel. The question is, can you go straight into Dewgong if you see like a Registeel on the lead? Because it's a losing matchup with Dewgong. So it's either one of two things. You're just going to come in and you're going to lose anyways, or you try and go Defense Deoxys, but they probably have a counter user. So that is just where it's a little tricky. This one's sort of like more just a... It's not like a cover your weakness team by any means necessary. It's just sort of like two Pokemon that I think are pretty balanced. So Sableye is going to do great against everything except for Darks and Fairy. I was looking at my Pokemon and I was like, okay, even Darks you throw a return, right? So it's not too bad there. I looked at my Pokemon and I was like, Venusaur is an interesting one because, again, the Owl's not around as much anymore. If you see the Owl in the lead, I think you just have to stay because they definitely have an answer to Dewgong here. So you kind of just have to stay. But I'm like, Venusaur is a great answer to the fairies. It's a good answer. Not that you need an answer to like Medicham for Sableye, but you need it for sort of Dewgong. I'm like, you can hit with the hard Frenzy Plants and resist the counters in the back there. So I used it and it's really, really strong. So I enjoyed using it. I end up getting 2 draw runs off on. So like it's a loss for Spaziodon, but like I got 2 draw runs down to take this down all the way here. I get the full farm down and now 2 shield of Venusaur. I don't really even care unless you have like a Skarmory in the back that's going to resist the sludges as well. You're in trouble, and it is a Medicham, so they are 100% in trouble because 2 frenzies are going to take this out with ease. So I just want to make sure that I have 2 frenzies here. I've got 2 shields. I will shield up 1. Just make sure I have 2 frenzies so I can go back to back here for the win. So again, this is just more of like a super all around balanced team. Your backline should cover each other's weakness, right? Because Venusaur will resist electric and now resist fighting, which is Dewgong's main weaknesses there. And then Sableye is just all around. This team, I don't want to give too much away because I actually ran with this team for 7 games and did really well with it. And it's the same sort of concept, right? You have a sort of balanced team that Meganium sort of underrated. You have your Dewgong that will take care of flyers, and then Toxapex is just kind of like well-rounded, right? So I do get hit here with Obstagoon. I mentioned a couple times I saw a few Obstagoons, and they are impossible to overcome. I do get to lower their attack twice, which is nice because now it is just full farm range, except for now they're only with like 1 or 2 Vine Whips, so I'm not going to get a ton of farm here. Okay, so 3. I got 3. That's okay. Nidoqueen comes in, so I'll take this. I don't even remember if I shield. It's super effective because I'm grass, but getting a frenzy off here is pretty good because it's going to do a ton of chip. And now it's going to depend what is in the back. I expect a shield because we both have a couple, and it is an Umbreon. And this is where sort of the tankiness and just Sludge is still a pretty hard-hitting move, right? So I lost lead. I lost switch. I end up getting 1 shield back with the Meganium, and now I can go 2v1 shield here, knowing that these sludges are going to add up, and then I'll still have a brine, hopefully, for the Nidoqueen. I'm going to have to shield up 1 here, because these foul plays will add up, and they are running a Psychic, so that is very unfortunate for my Toxapex. I'll have to take 1. I have to sort of, I think Meganium is now sort of key because I can get the sludge off here to take this out. I can hopefully get to a brine, and then if I get to a brine, I can get to a frenzy to take this out. So hit this with a brine, it'll be super effective. So I expect a shield, and now Meganium needs to come in, get to a move. I will have to shield here, get to the frenzy. Frenzy will basically take it out, and in the end, what's going to happen here is we are going for a Snarl versus Poison Jab farm down matchup here. While I get my defense lowered by a Poison Fang, but they are just low enough and I am tanky enough that I will take them out. So that is the sort of balanced teams. Very easy to use. Again, Dewgong is just so strong in this meta in terms of balance, like in terms of like its ability to act as a safe swap, that you can run pretty much any sort of balanced team that you want. Now I did some ABB style teams. I don't like again, if you've watched this channel for a while, I do not like ABB style teams. So I use this, so walrein, Dewgong in the back. I was hoping I get to a Shadow Ball and then try and catch an Icy one, but the game is lagging a ton, and then like they got a full move off there when we should have like CMP tied, if not get up. So anyways, tons of tip damage there, which is great. Out comes the Machamp, so I'm down a shield and I'm losing lead and switch so far, which is not amazing. Is this the one where they have the their Dewgong in the back? No, wait. Well, is this one? One of them I should have lost. I think it's this one. This one I think I should have lost, but they did not have drill run on their Dewgong. They had Aqua Jet. But basically, with all these ABB style teams, you use Dewgong or walrein in this case. Like dunsparce, like team 1 and 2, Dewgong could be a safe swap, but also walrein and dunsparce can also be fine safe swaps. I use Renorigas just as I think it was trying to be more fun. I think that you can use Cofagrigus to avoid having the ice weakness and water weakness unnecessarily. I mean, you do have 2 answers for that in the back, so that's not terrible. But I think the other aspect is having, or you can use like a trevenant. If you're going to be weak to ice, at least have sort of a grass too, right? So they're in the back with Skarmory. So this is not bad because I'm going to be able to take this Skarmory out before they take me out. And then it came down to a race between Earthquake and what I thought was Drill Run. And I think if they had Drill Run, I probably would have lost. But they had Aqua Jet, so it did not take me out. So able to get the Icicle Spear off, take this out. Now the Dewgong versus me. I was still at like 40% health here. I assume I would have gone out because I'm the Shadow version. So I assume a Drill One would have taken me out, but they only had Aqua Jet, so that does not take me out. So yeah, so ABB style team, you're weak to fighting and electric in the back, so you need something to beat fighting electric. So I put in Renorigas, you can put in Cofagrigus, you can put in Trevenant. That is sort of options there. These are now, like I said, there's not as I described, there's not as many pure ABB style teams. Like ABB is supposed to be like you really only have like one weakness. So Grass Hole, you really have only the fire weakness, and then Bastiodon smacks it down. The problem with Dewgong is it's duo typing, right? It is an ice and a water. So you do have the fighting weakness with ice, but then you also have like an electric weakness with the water. So with that, you kind of just need to do sort of like a ABB light. So Dunsparce, same thing to as trying to draw in a fighter. I have Foul Play on it. It's because I was using it like last season with Foul Play. I changed it to Shadow Ball immediately after this. Run Shadow Ball on it. Don't run Foul Play. Because a Shadow Ball here would have KO'd, and a Foul Play does not. So they are going to throw a move. It's a Shadow. I really don't want to take a Drill Run here, so I'm going to Shield. And if I remember, they do not get out. And I'm like, oh, okay, if you're not getting out, you probably are a little weak to this in the back here. So I'm going to start shielding here, knowing that the only reason you're staying in here is because you're throwing resisted Shadow Claws, right? What is in the back? And if I remember, it was a Sableye, right? So the claws there are resisted. Yeah. I just do Rock Slide. I think Drill Run is the better move to throw here, but it doesn't matter. It still just takes 2 moves anyways for both of these. So it does not matter. I need to get to a second move, which I do. 1 Foul Play, even from a Shadow, does not take me out from this range, which is great. I get the move off, and then I will come and instantly kind of snipe with the Seed Bombs with Trevenant and take the win there. So again, with ABB style teams, unless you're like hard to win, unless there's like a Medicham or something on the front, you need to switch. So Buzzhole on lead against my Hypno. So Hypno, this is obviously a great win. Out comes an Electrode. So I was eventually going to try to bail into my Scrafty, because Scrafty just has such a bad matchup. But they threw a foul play and I had to shield it, which almost cost me this game, quite honestly. At this point, I could just like power punch my way down here, because the Buzzhole still has Lunge, which will be super effective against the Hypno, so I got to worry about that. But that discharge didn't mount, so they're going to just counter me down. I am boosted. I only have resisted move. Counter, power punch, and foul play are all resisted because it's bug and fighting. But because Buzzhole is so glassy and I am boosted, this will do quite a lot of chip damage here, right? That's well into the yellow there, so that is great. Come and try and snipe with Hypno. They have an Escab or Electivire, so the spicy double electric team. I'd like to see it. I'm just going to bait here. And eventually I'm like, okay, my win condition is Hypno. Let's just bank that energy. Come in here, Dewgong, sort of a sacrifice. This is Electivire, which is a super attack heavy Pokemon, throwing a wild charge, and I live able to get the Icy Wind off. They end up shielding because they want to farm me down and they have a wild charge coming out. So I'm like, I lower their attack, let this go because I can't really take a lunge. And they just throw the Ice Punch. I almost lose this. I have a move. Just throw the Shadow Ball. I don't know why I threw that. They lower it, but that's okay. Got to move for the win. So again, Hypno. Again, I had a great lead, so I'm not going to leave. But if you need to leave, go into Dewgong. So that is how I would team build with Dewgong. Dewgong again is much easier because it is just so safe in general. It doesn't have super hard wins, doesn't have super hard losses. It's just sort of middle of the road. More often than not, I am pulling out a Medicham with that. So if you want to, so that's why I kind of like just balance teams. So you don't, if you're running ABB, you really need something that can beat Medicham on the front, because that is what I'm pulling out a lot of the time. A lot of these things you're also going to see are weak to like Obstagoon with the Night Slash. So if you want to run something that beats Medicham and doesn't take super effective from Obstagoon, you can do that. Your own Medicham, something like that. But again, Dewgong still gets the Obstagoon down to like the deep red and lowers its attack twice. So even if you have to take a super effective move, it's not the end of the world. But that is it. So I will do others along the way here. I've got other like teams too that I want to put out. So we'll do a mix of team building and just regular Great League teams. So let me know in the comments below if you like these videos. I think you do, because my team building series is generally one of my higher viewed videos. Yeah, that is Dewgong. I think like just balanced is probably better with Dewgong. I just hate giving up a neutral lead to go into a safe swap in Dewgong just to like put yourself at risk there. So I just prefer balanced teams. And like I said, the Meganium team I did a whole like set and a half with. So I'm going to showcase that team. I did really well with it. So I just prefer the balanced teams. And I think Dewgong provides you a lot of opportunity for balanced teams. Anyways, that is it. I appreciate watching. I'll do a Sandslash for sure, because I have that built. I don't have a Quagsire built yet. Quagsire built. And I don't have a Emolga built yet. I'm going to probably try and build those soon. That you may see this sort of team building for those Pokemon later in the season. I'll try and do a Sandslash probably before Great League ends this week. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, that's it. I appreciate watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.